Recording in progress.
Colleagues, will you please take your seats? All right, don't sit down yet, Councilor Mickley. Would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Newton City Council. We are being both audio taped and videotaped. And before, just because we have a lot of folks here, which is great, and we're going to honor them in a minute, I'm just going to take a moment to explain what we're going to do this evening. So we're going to do what is called our first call, which is when each committee gives a report on items that are generally non-controversial. After that, we're going to ask for suspension of the rules. I'm going to invite Councilors Oliver, Bixby, and I know several others up. Ask that the members of the team come forward. We'll read a proclamation. There'll be an opportunity for family take pictures, and then you're all free to go. Well, not you folks. You have to stay for second call, but our audience is free to go. Let me remind us, we have a number of counselors who are participating remotely this evening. Let me just make sure I get all of them. I have Councilor Downs, Greenberg, Humphrey, Krinsman, Maliki, and Lipoff, who are all participating, but all participating remotely. And colleagues and members of the public, I'm going to ask for a moment of silence in memory of our late President Jimmy Carter, who passed away at the age of 100. As I think many of us know, there's an ongoing funeral process throughout the country, and his funeral will be Thursday. But I'd like a moment of silence in memory of President Carter, please. Thank you all. On to first call, Councilor Kelly for the Land Use Committee, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Makes it short and sweet. Councilor Oliver for Zoning and Planning, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The report begins on page 8. Zoning and Planning Committee met on December 19th. There were 2 items that were voted out. Item 47424, appointment of Hema Narayanan to the Economic Development Commission. That was approved 8-0. Item 500-24, reappointment of Dan Green to the Conservation Commission. That was also approved 8-0. And with that, I move the report.
Thank you, Vice Chair Oliver. Next, I have Chair Krinsman for the Programs and Services Committee, please. Chair Krinsman.
Thank you, Mr. President. There is no report this evening.
Thank you. Next, I have Chair Grossman for the Public Safety and Transportation Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. There is no report this evening.
Thank you. And I'm just going to comment for members of the public. We usually have a lot more business before us than we do this evening. But obviously, because our last meeting was in December, the holidays, we had very few committee meetings, which is why this is going to proceed, I hope, rather quickly. Next, Councilor Albright for Public Facilities, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met on 12/18 and docket item 448-24. Her Honor, the Mayor requesting discussion and approval of text clarifications necessary for city ordinances 29-157 through 29-166, required removal and replacement of building sewer, water service pipes and sidewalks, which clarifies the requirement to install sidewalks in locations that did not previously have a sidewalk. That was voted approved by the committee, 7 in favor with 1 abstention. And the last item was 507-24. Her Honor, the Mayor appointing Shauna Sullivan as Commissioner of the Department of Public Works pursuant to Section 3-3 of the city charter. And the Public Facilities Committee was present and approved with great satisfaction and wonderful support to approve the nomination for Commissioner Sullivan.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Albright. I'm going to go back to Chair Kelly for a moment. I think there were there were so many items that were held that there were actually a couple that we approved. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I just made the same revelation myself and was about to raise my hand to take to the floor again. We did hold many items and I have no new public hearings to request, but I would like to report that the Land Use Committee met on December 17th. And while we held many items, we also approved item number 484-24, which was a request to exceed FAR and allow 3 stories within a single-family dwelling at 48 Lantern Lane. That was approved 8-0. We also approved number 494-24, the appointment of Craig McPherson to the Boston College Neighborhood Council. That was approved also unanimously 8-0. And a couple of Class 1 and 2 auto dealer licenses, number 503-24 for Village Motors Group was approved 8-0. And number 504-24 for KG Motors was also approved 8-0. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Counselor Kelly. Vice Chair Maliki for the Finance Committee, please.
There is no report. Thank you.
And finally, Chair Danberg for Real Property Reuse Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's no report, but I want to make sure that the committee remembers that we have a regularly scheduled real property reuse meeting on January 16th.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to invite Councilors Oliver, Bixby, Albright, Lucas, Mickley, and Danberg to the podium, please. And colleagues, I'm going to ask for a suspension of the rules to allow the Newton North High School boys soccer team within the rail. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Folks, gentlemen, come on up.
Yeah, Susan, get up there. Get up there. Right side up. Just for giggles.
Good job, guys.
I got you.
All guys in the back.
Well, that may be one giant step.
Can you see?
Right.
Bend down.
No, bend down.
Chill. Yeah, it's getting raw. All right, are we all in? All right, here we go. We're all in, I guess. All right, for a testimonial commendation honoring the Newton North High School boys soccer team for the outstanding accomplishments in 2024.
Whereas the Newton North High School boys soccer team had an exceptional and outstanding season, earning the title of MIAA Division I Massachusetts champions. And whereas the Newton North High School boys soccer team's win was their first ever state championship title. And whereas the Newton North High School boys soccer team was the underdog, defeating the St. John's of Shrewsbury Pioneers 2-1 to claim history as the first ever 30th seed to win the playoffs. And
Therefore, let it be known that in recognition of the Newton North High School boys soccer team's unparalleled achievements in 2024, the Honorable City Council, representing the entire city of Newton, congratulates them for their accomplishments. Well done, guys.
If family members are welcome to step in and take pictures, if that's easier, if anyone wants to come in here, they're welcome to do so. We'll let them stay for a few minutes and we'll go from there.
See you later, guys. Smiling? Nah, straight face. Straight face. Yeah, one goofy one. Yeah. Already goofy one. I was silly one. Everyone say minor. Hey guys, we have one more song. Hey guys. Yes, so. The mic is right there. Thank you, Ben. You get a hey guys. Hey guys. Yeah, we get a hey guys. The other inspirational aspect. Oh, those actually, we're fucking ass. So loud. Where's the air? Say something. No, don't say something. Give it a good old inspirational speech. Yeah, are we good? Are we good? You're not gonna get. Thank you.
Guys, are dismissed, all good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And let me just add that these young men could not have done what they did, obviously without their coaches, but they couldn't have done it without the people who are here this evening, their parents, their siblings, their grandparents, other loved ones. You're the ones who are as responsible for this as anyone. So thank you all very much. And again, congratulations. Why don't we take a minute or two, let everyone get organized, and we'll get back to our regular business. But I'll take you up in the next. Emily's, hungry for Mickey C again. All right, colleagues, why don't we get back to our business at hand? Before we take a vote on first call, Chair Kelly reminded me that she's got one more item to report out. Go ahead, please, Chair Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the eagle eye of my colleague, Councilor Block, who noticed that I forgot to report one item that was stuck in between all of the held items. On December 12th, when the Land Use Committee met in 2024, we also approved number 282-24, which is a request to exceed FAR at 29 Walker Street. And we approved that unanimously, which was 7-0. And I really conclude my report now.
And thank you, Councilor Block, for the sharp eye there, and Clerk Moore for catching the initial ones. All right, we're going to go ahead and call the roll on first call. We're then going to go right to second call. I don't anticipate it's going to be a lengthy evening, but Madam Clerk.
Counselor Albright.
Aye.
Counselor Baker. Counselor Bixby.
Aye.
Counselor Block.
Aye.
Counselor Danberg.
Aye.
Counselor Downs.
Aye.
Counselor Farrell,
Aye.
Counselor Gentile, Counselor Getz,
Aye.
Counselor Greenberg,
Aye.
Counselor Grossman,
Aye.
Counselor Humphrey,
Aye.
Counselor Kalis,
Aye.
Counselor Kelly,
Aye.
Counselor Krinsman.
Aye.
He said-
Aye.
Thank you. Counselor Leary. Counselor Lipoff,
Aye.
Counselor Lobovitz,
Aye.
Counselor Lucas,
Aye.
Counselor Maliki,
Aye.
Counselor Mickley,
Aye.
Counselor Oliver,
Aye.
Counselor Wright,
Aye.
President Laredo.
Aye.
Motion carries 21 yeas, 0 nays, 3 absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'm going to recognize the Chair of the Public Facilities Committee, Chair Albright. There's a number of items that were postponed to a date certain. Would you go through them, please? And I understand there's going to be at least one motion from a counselor.
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Let me read the docket items into the record. So this is covering
Would you
docket
speak into
item.
the microphone, please? Thank you.
This is covering docket items 396-24, which was National Grid grant of location for several locations in Center Street. 397-24, National Grid grant of location to maintain gas main in Walnut Street. 398-24, National Grid petition a grant of location to install and maintain gas mains in Washington Street at several locations. 399-24, request for grant of location in Canterbury Road. And 419-24, National Grid request petition for grant of location to install and maintain gas main in Beacon Street as follows. And then it lists the several locations on Beacon Street. So we had 2 robust meetings on these grants of location and 2 robust public hearings. At the second public hearing, National Grid came in person and they also supplied answers to the questions asked by counselors and by the public. In particular, they talked about some of the more commonly requested questions on the repair versus replacement and hydrogen, which many people said National Grid wanted to put hydrogen in the streets. National Grid said that they have no plans to put hydrogen in the streets. And she said that the replacing these pipes which are old and prone to breakage is part of their distribution integrity management plan to manage the risk of their system. And one of the biggest risks of the system is the leak-prone cast iron and old pipes. They're steel pipes. Let's see what. It was asked if National Grid does have a plan for sunsetting the gas system. And Ms. Smith answered that on April 1st, they're required to file a climate compliance plan, which will show a roadmap for the utility company for how they will meet their climate goals by 2050. National Grid encouraged our city council to speak directly with our issues, complaints, comments to the Department of Public Utilities, because pretty much National Grid is just doing what the Department of Public Utilities requires of them. So on all of these items, there were separate votes. So let me tell you what they were. Okay. On 396-24, vote was, where was the vote? Approved. So this was approved, 4 in favor, 2 opposed, and 1 abstention. On 397-24, it was the same vote, 4 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 abstention. 398-24, the same vote. 4 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 abstention. And sorry, 398, did I do that one yet?
You did.
Okay, so then 399-24, the same vote, 4 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 abstention. 419-24, 4 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 abstention. And I believe Councillor Kelly will have a motion to be made.
Counselor Kelly.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. As the Chair Albright alluded, we had several very robust discussions around these grants of location. I guess I should say right off the bat that I am generally opposed to approving them in terms of our climate goals, and that I don't think we should be adding more gas lines if we can help it. However, there are some caveats here. Our law department takes the view that we have no standing to deny them. And that's something that I take seriously, and I don't want to set us up for lawsuits from National Grid. So we should all be aware of that. On my amendment, I am making a motion to make an amendment to item number 419-24. Which is the request for a grant of location on Beacon Street. One of the topics that came up at the last meeting, we had a whole bunch of Garland Road residents there. And for any of you who know, this is a little area, a hotbed of environmental green concern in Ward 6. And one of the topics that came up was, what if we look for sites to do an electrification pilots? And this is one of the streets that might be very well suited to that. This street runs between Homer and Beacon, but only from Brentwood to Beacon is the section that is being considered for new piping now. One of the questions that I have is that it does not appear to me or others that there's no immediate risk in this area. National Grid didn't even have it in their 20 to 25 plans, but they have it in their 20 to 26 to 29 plans. So I'm not sure that this really fits the criteria of immediate risk. So my proposal would be to delete the third bullet of this docket item, which says approximately 600 feet of 8-inch plastic in Garland Road from Beacon to the existing 6-inch plastic in Brentwood Ave to replace 600 feet of 6-inch cast iron. I would like us to consider taking this part of that street out of the new replacement piping and thinking about doing an electrification pilot for that section. So that's my motion.
There's a motion by Counselor Kelly. Is there a second for the motion? Seconded by Counselor Danberg. I'm going to let the chair respond first and then go to Vice President Kalis, please.
So there is a letter. Counselor Leary called me from the airport and told me that she would not be at this meeting and that Counselor Kelly would be making this motion. And we decided that we would ask Amy Smith, who I've been working with at National Grid, what she thought about this amendment that would get Garland Road out of the grants of location. She wrote a letter back today, which I've given to the clerk, and she can distribute it to you. If so, yeah, I think it's probably best, but I'll tell you what the letter says. The letter says that the Garland Road, the section between Beacon Street and Brentwood, its risk factor was high enough to ask that National Grid replace this pipe and ask for a grant of location to replace it. As Councillor Kelly made it clear, made clear to us by the law department, our ability to say no to these items based on we want electrification is not really the kind of criteria, let's say, that would warrant us being allowed to vote down these grants of location. In this letter, which you will see, Amy Smith made the offer that she would meet with the Garland Road folks that I don't know if Councilor Kelly mentioned it or not, but Ann Berwick and I have been meeting with National Grid, Amy Smith and Eversource since June to discuss a pilot in Newton for electrification, to abandon some leaky pipe and have electrification. And that pilot is being worked on what streets would be possibly part of a pilot. Garland Road had at this point not been selected as part of a pilot. However, and I should say that the pilot project has no funding with it. National Grid had hoped that at some point during our planning that they could get pilot funding from the state to pay for the electrification of the homes on the street that will have an abandoned pipe, but there is no funding for this. She did offer to meet with the Garland Road residents, and if they want to do electrification and get rid of the National Grid pipes connections to their homes, and if they want to do this in a timely fashion before the end of the next construction season, that she is willing to do this. So I think that it's up to us to, and I will certainly participate in this since I've asked the question and she's answered positively, make sure that the Garland Road folks meet with National Grid to discuss this and understand the costs involved in this transformation. So my hope would be that we approve all of these grants of locations as they are requested, that we give the Garland Road folks an opportunity to remove their homes from that street, from the work of National Grid by virtue of electrification. And does that, I see, just, am I being clear? Okay, so that I would hope that we would vote for this as it stands without the amendment.
Thank you. So next I have Vice President Kalis and Counselor Danberg.
Thank you. All of my questions were
Counselor
just answered.
Kalis,
Thank you. All of my questions were just answered.
great. Counselor Danberg.
Are we to understand that the entire cost is to be borne by the homeowners if they do this? And do we have an idea as to whether the homeowners have agreed that they will or that they're able to bear this cost?
Is that a question directed to?
Through the chair to.
Go ahead, please, Chair Albright.
Thank
The answer to the first question is yes, the homeowners would have to bear the cost. And the second question, what was the second question? Sorry.
Go ahead,
And
please.
will they bear the cost? And do we know whether they are going to be able to bear this cost?
Yes.
Since we don't, do we know what the cost is? And
It could.
can
it
they
could-
bear it?
It could range, as far as I understand from talking with National Grid, it can range from $20,000 to $50,000 and sometimes more, depending on the situation in your home. The folks that came to speak to us because they had already electrified their homes on Garland Road were not in this section of Garland Road. They were in another section. This section of the road, I don't believe folks have electrified their homes. But she's happy to give the opportunity to have a meeting with these homeowners to see if they're interested in electrifying, to lay out the facts and see if they're interested. It is our hope that the pilot that we're planning with National Grid, that will probably take another 6 or 8 months to plan, that they're hopeful that they could find some funding for electrification, but that's not a guarantee.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this amendment? Counselor Lucas and then Counselor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the first I'm hearing of this, so I'm just a little, just want some further clarification. Can we approve this not as amended and then come back at a future date and time? Or can National Grid come back at a future date and time to request the electrification for this part of Garland Road?
This question directed through the president to the chair.
Exactly.
Thank you.
National Grid doesn't have to request electrification. What the homeowners would have to say, we want to electrify, we want to abandon. By the way, it was pointed out to me in my conversation with Amy Smith today that none of the homeowners on Garland Road that have electrified their homes have requested to be taken off, to be released from the mains, the gas mains on that street. So that's an interesting fact in and of itself. My thought, as you will read if you read the letter, their concern is that the risk factor of the Garland Road pipe is such that it warrants replacement, and they would like to do it within the next construction cycle. So that if she wants to give these people as much chance as she possibly can to have them electrify their homes and abandon the pipe. But if it doesn't work, she wants this pipe to be replaced, given the risk factor associated with this pipe.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I'm all set.
All set? Thank you. Counselor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I have a couple of questions for the
Through
Chair,
the
through the president, through the president to the
Sure.
chair, yes. So I guess I think you addressed the first one I had, which is this line does need to be replaced because it is failed or failing. Okay. How many homes are we really talking about roughly? Do we know?
Don't know the exact number, but knowing from having driven up and down that piece of road, it's about 6 houses.
Okay. And then assuming that the folks who have electrified their homes but have not kind of disconnected from the grid are doing so because like the letter says, you know, as a backup source of energy. Makes sense, I guess. Would the pilot or the removal of this section of line, or we want to look at that, would it require every house to disconnect? Like, in other words, what if one homeowner says, yeah, great, super, but I want it as a backup until 2049? Then what happens?
So the new climate action bill gives more discretion in this regard. And I will be providing, Ann Berwick wrote a summary of the climate action bill, which I'm going to provide to the Public Facilities Committee, which will go to the whole council. But as I understand it from the way Ann Berwick has given me information is that one person no longer has the right to gas. In other words, you can't say, I have to have a gas line on my street. I have a right to gas. So that if one person, it could be that if one person was a holdout, that they could still do this anyway. But it puts a heavy burden on that one person to have to pay whatever it costs to electrify their home.
Interesting. Begs a lot of questions that have no bearing on this item. So I'll leave it alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Kelly.
Thank you. Very briefly, one of the things in this letter that Chair Albright just provided us from Amy Smith says, the reason they want to do this now is that the pipe on Garland Road is higher risk pipe that must be replaced this year to ensure safety. And I go back to one of the comments I made earlier when I made the motion, which is, if this is at such a high risk now, why is it not in the current plan, but placed in their 2026 to 29 plan? To me, it doesn't seem like they really deemed it high enough risk to do this work right now. So my motion stands. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to be heard on the motion to amend? All right, seeing none, I don't see anyone online. We're going to do this by a roll call vote. And let's be very clear what you're voting for and what you're voting against. If you vote aye or yes, you're voting in favor of Counselor Kelly's amendment to delete Garland Road from this item. If you're voting nay or no, you're voting against the amendment. Once we're done with the amendments, we'll take up each item in toto. Go ahead, please.
Counselor Albright,
No.
Counselor Bixby,
Yes.
Counselor Block,
No.
Counselor Danberg,
Aye.
Counselor Downs,
No.
Counselor Farrell,
No.
Counselor Gentile, Counselor Getz,
No.
Counselor Greenberg,
Aye.
excuse me, I got my numbers mixed up for a second. Counselor Grossman,
No.
Counselor Humphrey,
Aye.
Counselor Kalis,
No.
Counselor Kelly,
Aye.
Counselor Krinsman,
No.
Counselor Leary, Counselor Lipoff,
No.
Counselor Lobovitz,
No.
Counselor Lucas,
No.
Counselor Maliki,
Aye.
Counselor Mickley,
No.
Counselor Oliver,
No.
Counselor Wright,
No.
President Laredo.
No.
Motion fails. 14 nays, 7 yeas, 3 absent.
So we're back to the main items as originally stated. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on any of the main items? Do I need a roll call for each one, Madam Clerk? Probably do, right? All right. We're gonna call a roll call vote for each item. So if you could go ahead, please, Madam Clerk.
Counselor Albright.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is for item 396-24. Counselor Albright.
Aye.
Counselor Baker. Counselor Bixby.
No.
Counselor Block.
Aye.
Counselor Danberg.
No.
Counselor Downs.
Aye.
Counselor Farrell.
Aye.
Counselor Gentile. Counselor Getz.
Aye.
Counselor Greenberg.
No.
Counselor Grossman.
Aye.
Counselor Humphrey.
No.
Counselor Kalis.
Aye.
Counselor Kelly.
No.
Counselor Krinsman.
Aye.
Counselor Leary. Counselor Lipoff.
Aye.
Counselor Lobovitz.
Aye.
Counselor Lucas.
Aye.
Counselor Maliki.
Sorry, no.
Counselor Mickley.
Aye.
Counselor Oliver.
Aye.
Counselor Wright.
Aye.
President Laredo.
Aye.
Motion carries 15 yeas, 6 nays, 3 absent. Now for item 397-24. Counselor Albright.
Aye.
Counselor Baker. Counselor Bixby.
No.
Counselor Block.
Aye.
Counselor Danberg.
No.
Counselor, thank you. Counselor Downs.
Aye.
Counselor Farrell.
Aye.
Counselor Gentile. Counselor Getz.
Aye.
Counselor Greenberg.
No.
Counselor Grossman.
Aye.
Counselor Humphrey.
No.
Counselor Kalis.
Aye.
Counselor Kelly.
No.
Counselor Krinsman.
Aye.
Counselor Leary. Counselor Lipoff.
Aye.
Counselor Lobovitz.
Aye.
Counselor Lucas.
Aye.
Counselor Maliki.
No.
Counselor Mickley.
Aye.
Counselor Oliver.
Aye.
Counselor Wright.
Aye.
President Laredo.
Aye.
Motion carries 15 yeas, 6 nays, 3 absent.
All right, only 3 more to go, colleagues. Go ahead.
Item number 398-24. Counselor Albright.
Aye.
Counselor Baker. Counselor Bixby.
No.
Counselor Block.
Aye.
Counselor Danberg.
No.
Counselor Downs.
Aye.
Counselor Farrell.
Aye.
Counselor Gentile. Counselor Getz.
Aye.
Counselor Greenberg.
No.
Counselor Grossman.
Aye.
Counselor Humphrey.
No.
Counselor Kalis.
Aye.
Counselor Kelly.
No.
Counselor Krinsman.
Aye.
Counselor Leary. Counselor Lipoff.
Aye.
Counselor Lobovitz.
Aye.
Counselor Lucas.
Aye.
Counselor Maliki.
No.
Counselor Mickley.
Aye.
Counselor Oliver.
Aye.
Counselor Wright.
Aye.
President Laredo.
Aye.
Motion carries 15 yeas, 6 nays, 3 absent.
Shocker.
Item number 399-24. Counselor Albright.
Aye.
Counselor Baker. Counselor Bixby.
No.
Counselor Block.
Aye.
Counselor Danberg.
No.
Counselor Downs.
Aye.
Counselor Farrell.
Aye.
Counselor Gentile. Counselor Getz.
Aye.
Counselor Greenberg.
No.
Counselor Grossman.
Aye.
Counselor Humphrey.
No.
Counselor Kalis.
Aye.
Counselor Kelly.
No.
Counselor Krinsman.
Aye.
Counselor Leary. Counselor Lipoff.
Aye.
Counselor Lobovitz.
Aye.
Counselor Lucas.
Aye.
Counselor Maliki.
No.
Counselor Mickley.
Aye.
Counselor Oliver.
Aye.
Counselor Wright.
Aye.
President Laredo.
Aye.
Motion carries 15 yeas, 6 nays, 3 absent. Last item, 419-24. Counselor Albright.
Aye.
Counselor Baker. Counselor Bixby.
No.
Counselor Block.
Aye.
Counselor Danberg.
No.
Counselor Downs.
Aye.
Counselor Farrell.
Aye.
Counselor Gentile. Counselor Getz.
Aye.
Counselor Greenberg.
No.
Counselor Grossman.
Aye.
Counselor Humphrey.
No.
Counselor Kalis.
Aye.
Counselor Kelly.
No.
Counselor Krinsman.
Aye.
Counselor Leary. Counselor Lipoff.
Aye.
Counselor Lobovitz.
Aye.
Counselor Lucas.
Aye.
Counselor Maliki.
No.
Counselor Mickley.
Aye.
Counselor Oliver. Counselor Wright.
Aye.
President Laredo.
Aye.
Motion carries 15 yeas, 6 nays, 3 absent.
Thank you. And that concludes our business. Counselor Mickley, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
All right, we are adjourned at 8:25 PM. Thank you all very much. And we'll be back here in full council in 2 weeks and a day. Am I correct about that?
Okay.